Hey friends, I'm Heidi with Heavenly Minded Home, and I've been sharing all this week my tips and tricks, the ins and out of starting a family vlog, maybe a homeschool channel, something like that. And today I want to be very real and upfront with y'all and talk about what the heck to do when it's just not going well. Vlogging, YouTubing, whatever you've been trying to do, it's not going well. Where the heck do we start? How do we figure this out? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm so glad you guys are here. Now, you know we have videos that come out every single day. Yes, literally every day. And so be sure to subscribe and tap that bell. And then that way you guys will get them as they come out all the time. I love talking about all the homey things, being a homemaker, homeschool, home discipleship, all of that. And I thought this week was just the perfect week to share all about vlogging, right? If you either have a channel, you're wanting to start, when you're thinking about it. I get people that ask me that quite often. And so you can go back through all of this week's videos and check them out to learn more about how I do it, why I do it, all of the tips and tricks. So praying it can be a blessing for those. I love you guys' comments. Seeing those, you've been like, oh my gosh, thank you. Yes, it is okay to shoot on your iPhone, right? You don't have to feel bad that you don't have a bajillion-dollar camera. But today I wanted to kind of touch on the topic that I feel like rarely ever do I see this covered. And that's when vlogging or YouTubing, whatever you want to say, just isn't going well. And I think a lot of times we only see the success side of it, which for some people is phenomenal, and that's great. Good for you. But sometimes it's not going so well. Sometimes you're really struggling. Sometimes you're really burnt out. You're really frustrated. You really don't know where to start off. And so I thought it would be fun to just sit down and have a conversation with y'all about, you know, kind of our take on that. We've been doing this for a little over 5 years. I've had more times than I can count that we've kind of been in this spot for various different reasons of just like, what the heck? Like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so burnt out. I forgot to put my watch on silent yet again. Hold, please. I forget every time. And you know why? Because as soon as I'm done, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's on silent. Because then I get upset that I forget to turn it back on. Anyways, let's move on to what we're supposed to be talking about here. And that's what to do when it's not going well, more so than just forgetting to put your watch on silent. So I think the first thing that you have to figure out when you're struggling with your vlogging, with your YouTube channel, is why? Why isn't it going well, right? If you don't understand the root cause, and sometimes it's really clear and simple. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to figure out. Sometimes you're going to have to do a little trial and error to figure out what exactly this root is that's causing your YouTube channel or your vlogging or your whatever to be kind of stagnant and struggling. And so I think, you know, some of the top things that I think of that I know we've kind of run into is when things aren't going well and I'm going, okay, why? Why isn't it going well? Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you've got too much going on. You're trying to fit it in. It's like a round peg in a square hole, right? You just can't get it and it's not working out. Be it whatever, you know, you might have going on with your husband, with your children, with just your life in general. And you're trying to fit all of this in and it's just becoming the straw that's breaking the camel's back. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes your expectations are off. I have found that to be a key too, that I think we should stand up and just call out that sometimes your expectations of what you think you're going to get out of starting a YouTube channel or being a vlogger or whatever terms you want to use, sometimes it's off. Maybe you're expecting these types of results that nobody really talks about. You know, like I found this channel the other day because I was kind of looking around a little bit, and this gal, amazing for her, but she in 6 months has 20,000 viewers and she has 32 published videos. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for over 5 years. I have 5,000 subscribers, right? Versus her 20,000 subscribers. And I've put up thousands of videos, like between our, you know, but then I had to stop myself and go, hold on, right? We do this for ministry. We do, like, we have I have to remember my reasons, right? Why are we doing this? Okay. No, we don't have 20,000 subscribers off of 32 videos. Like those stats sound amazing. And yay for her that in 6 months of time, like she was able to build that. That's phenomenal. We've poured our hearts and souls into this channel for 5 years, and I have a fraction of what she has, right? But stopping that and going, hold on, like don't let that little, green beast of envy start stirring up within us. You have to stop sometimes and go, are my expectations off? Is that why I'm feeling not successful? Because I didn't have 20,000 subscribers in 6 months of time. So now I'm frustrated that I haven't made it further or whatever. Maybe your expectations are off for your home and how it's supposed to behave on camera. That's another big one that I see of, you have this idea, you watch these channels and everything just works so well and looks so clean and tidy and everybody just does the right thing when it's their time on camera or whatever. And then you pull out a camera and either like everybody scatters or your kids are acting like weirdos all of a sudden because there's a camera to perform for. And so you're getting frustrated because the expectations you had going into it aren't the results that you're getting in either of these capacities. That can be a great big root of what's going on there. Another thing could be that it's causing strain in the home. This is one that I've worked to balance a lot because we've gone through seasons where my husband's like, oh my gosh, like all you're doing is stuff for this. And so we kind of butt heads a little bit. And then I go, okay, let me back off. Like I'm not trying to cause a strain in my home by doing this. Like I'm a workaholic, so I know that I have to keep myself in check because I will work myself into the ground time and time again. And it's like, I never learn. So I know that I have to pay attention to myself and be like, hold on, like, are my priorities in order? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So if I'm starting to cause strain in the home, maybe I'm doing a lot of great content and a lot of great things to put out there. But if my kids aren't feeling that like one-on-one connectedness, like there's a strain there, there's something that's off, and I have to go to that and reevaluate that and take care of that. And then another thing that could be the why is maybe you're struggling with your YouTube because you don't have enough of a schedule, or you're being too overly scheduled. I feel like that's a difficult balance too, because you need to have some sort of schedule and rhythm and routine to physically, literally film a video, edit a video, upload a video, right? Do all of the stuff. But then sometimes you can be so scheduled that it's just so rigorous and you're like, oh my gosh, like this just isn't working. I feel like those are some of the top culprits for, as family YouTubers, things that you run into that you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is so frustrating. Like, it's not just as simple as like, oh, I'll film a couple things throughout my day and it doesn't take up any of my time. This is demanding of your time and of your focus and your abilities. And so kind of figuring out what that why is a huge key factor here of step one. When it's not going well, you got to figure out why it's not going well. So once you start nailing down the why of it, then it's time to make adjustments. And these were some of the top adjustments that I could think of that I implement when I'm finding myself in this place of like, oh my gosh, this is not working. And I kind of go through the why and try to figure out, okay, now I need to do something. I can't just sit here and expect a different result. I've got to adjust something. So maybe it's schedule adjustments. Maybe you are doing too much and you need to back it down. Maybe you're being way too loosey-goosey and you need to put a little bit of schedule into that. I'm totally the one there a lot of times who I just kind of float around in my little la land and expect everything to come together. And it's like, okay, we need a little bit of structure here. Okay, not everybody can work on my whims and fancies. Maybe it's that you need to start preparing better. If you want to do this and you want to be serious about putting out content, you have to look at it, as it is a job. It is a demand on your time. And just like any other thing that you would do, there's preparation that you have to take seriously if you want to complete the task at hand. And so maybe you need to do better preparing with, planning videos and having editing time. Maybe you spend a lot of time in that, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Maybe you need to sit down and schedule out, hey, these are the points I want to hit on in my next videos. This is going to be my editing time, right? Maybe, nap time or like a certain time when the kids are are like, for me, I love it when the kids are doing stuff with their dad, then I'm like, cool, that's my time to kind of tackle the stuff that I need to do, trying to find that balance of making sure that I am there and present for my children and for my husband, and they're not taking the back seat to my whatever the heck, I've thought up and want to be working on and doing. Like right now, my kids, they're having a dedicated playtime with one another. They're a little bit older. They need a little bit less of me in certain ways. Like they have their things that they want to go do. So while they're busy doing that, I can sit down and chat with you all. Maybe something that is really frustrating is you kind of have these expectations that like you'll just be able to start filming and everything will be good, but then you get into it and you're like, oh my gosh, like, there's just messes and things aren't right and it's not coming out how you want it to. Maybe you do need to keep your house cleaner. That's something that I never ever want to be, there's like that line of, I don't want my house to always be perfect for the vlog. But then there's that line of like, oh my gosh, I should have taken care of this stuff before. Like, not that I'm trying to do it so that way it looks a certain way on camera, but it's one of those, like, if I just start filming and going into like my own what I want to do, but the priorities haven't been taken care of first, like it's my task to keep the home, right? That's my duty before I'm a YouTuber. So my room should always be clean when I come in here to record, because it's my duty to keep this room clean regardless of if I'm in here recording, right? I should be handling the dishes and taking care of the stuff and doing all of that. And so I should prioritize getting those things done first. So then by the time I move on to filming and doing stuff like that, it's already done. And I'm not just like, oh, and then I'm getting cranky because there's stuff out or whatever. Like, I feel like there's a balance there, and hopefully this is coming across like I think it is in my head. But sometimes having the things like that of like, let me get my housekeeping done. Like, let me get my priorities done, take care of my stuff, kind of give myself that starting foundation, and then go into this. So that way, I think that helps balance, your expectations of what you think it's all going to look like and come out as, and like actually making that happen. Maybe you need to relax your kids' schedules a little bit. Maybe you plan a bunch of stuff and you put all this in because you want to capture all of it and do all of it, but then you don't understand, like, even just vlogging through your day, it takes up your time to set up those shots, to check those shots, to get those clips, to go back and redo something because, something wasn't right or the camera wasn't leveled or whatever it is. Like, it takes a lot of time. So that's why I have kind of adjusted, and our vlogs are just our family vlogs. So sometimes you're seeing our day as we go. Sometimes it's me chatting about something. Sometimes I'm showing you just something specific, like specifically our carnivore diet or specifically, whatever, because trying to film through every homeschool day, literally 10 times out of 10 means eventually at some point it's less about my time with my kids and more about getting the right shots and angles and the time that it takes to do that. So our school days will take so much longer when we're filming them, because I'm setting up a camera, I'm moving a camera, I'm checking a camera, you're just doing all those different things, and it just goofs up that balance. So I've worked really hard to get as simple with my shots as I can, but I also make sure that we're not doing that all the time, because every time it's just a matter of days before it starts kind of messing up our balance. And I don't want my kids to feel like that my time with them is like, my purpose of spending time with them is getting content. That's like never ever, that's my worst nightmare of what my kids would feel like. And I don't ever want to be in that position. So if that means that, I don't film our homeschool day every single day, I'm okay with that. Like, I've totally learned that throughout the process. And so maybe I need to kind of relax their schedule. I need to take a look at, kind of what we're doing in that and how to better mesh all of this together. Another thing, like I told you guys, is I shoot for simple edits. I stop whenever I goof up, so I know exactly where I need to go and fix something. I shoot stuff in the order that I want it to be in the video, or at least really, really close to that. I don't use multiple cameras, or I very rarely very rarely use multiple cameras because then I hate splicing together all of this stuff. If I take a shot and I don't like it, I'll just delete it right then and there. So that way I'm not, having to go through and weed out the ones later on. I shoot for simple edits every time because I've seen people, like I heard one guy, he was talking about once about how for every minute of his vlog that would end up published, that was at least an hour of editing time. And he was like proud of that for every minute he was at an hour. And I'm just like, holy cow. Like I edit, if I've spent over 20 minutes in an edit, I am fed up and annoyed with myself. Like I try to get it done so quick because that's just not where I want to prioritize my time. So shooting for simpler edits, that's another way. And that kind of takes some trial and error of playing with it, but looking at the things, what are the things in the editing process that are the most frustrating for you? Let's change those up. I know there's a lot of people out there that they do stuff and then they have like the sweet talking voice. Like even I do it on Sundays, right? I have to shoot all that footage and then stow away some time somewhere somewhat quiet to talk over it and do that, right? For me, that's a pain in the rear. I'd much rather just sit down here, what I'm shooting, I'm talking, like I'm doing it all in one. For me, like that process is kind of frustrating. I've done it a couple times and every time I'm like, this isn't for me. But that's just me. Maybe for you that works. For me, it doesn't really. So kind of figuring out what things would be simpler in the editing process for you and then kind of think of that going into the shooting part. I'm constantly trying to shorten my overall editing time. And so that's something, if you sit there and you look at it and go, man, I do all of this stuff, but then I'm up editing, till all nights of the hour. What can you do to lessen that? Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's you need to watch some tutorials or see how other, maybe you need to learn a little bit more so you can get more efficient at what you're doing. Maybe you're just trying to cram too much in. You've got to kind of look at that and go, okay, if I'm a viewer just scrolling through, am I literally going to sit here and watch this person show me 20 minutes of clips of just random things around her kitchen? Probably not, right? Like a couple ones are fine and a couple little clips are great. A little bit of B-roll, but they're probably not going to sit there through all of that. I may think my kids are adorable and want to show 30 minutes of Olivia blabbering about absolutely nothing, but most likely the average person coming to my channel isn't going to find that quite as endearing. Now, if I have like a 15-second clip, that will be cute. They're not going to sit there for 30 minutes of it. So sitting down and kind of thinking about, what is the end recipient looking for and what can I do to kind of quicken this process up so it's not taking me forever. That is a huge adjustment, that you can start making those little changes to help shorten up that period. And then kind of the last adjustment here too, that sometimes you just need to shoot less. Sometimes maybe you're taking forever to edit because every time you go to edit, you have so much at your fingertips. It's great, right? I'd rather have more than less when I'm putting something together. But then there comes a point where, like I said, nobody's gonna sit there and listen to my kid babble for 30 minutes, right? There comes a point where I'm like, okay, how many shots of like my plants or the trees or whatever, like does one video need? It needs a few. I think those are great, but there comes a point where it's like, all right, one more slow-mo pan of a plant is, that's enough. We've got it, right? We've got it. So, kind of stopping and thinking and say, hey, maybe there is some strain in the home. Maybe you are trying to do too much. Maybe you're just overwhelmed and you're frustrated and getting burnt out. Maybe you need to shoot a little less and kind of readjust how you're going about this. Maybe you don't need a million detailed shots and you don't need to film every single day like some people, maybe you need to make some adjustments there. Those would be some of those like top adjustments I can think of. Once you've figured out the why you're struggling, let's make those changes. And then all of that to say, if all else fails, you're still frustrated, it's still not going well, you feel like that, round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole or whatever way you want to say it, maybe you need to just take a break. I have found this too, where there have been times, be it we're struggling in our marriage, we're struggling with our kids, we have too much going on, I feel stretched too thin, I'm expecting it to be something it's not, and I'm getting frustrated, or whatever combination thereof, take a break. I mean, if I understand, right, you build up momentum and you want to hit the algorithm and all the stupid stuff that you have to do, but sometimes you need a break. And don't be afraid to take that break. If the Lord is going to use what you're doing with this, He's going to use it regardless of you taking a break or not, right? Just like remembering, right? That's why the Sabbath is such a special time, because the Lord says, hey, like I took a break from my work. I want you to take a break and focus on me. We have to remember that in our lives, that rest is great. We've like demonized it in our world today, but that's not what God says, right? There's nothing wrong with taking a break. There's nothing wrong with being like, you know what? I'm gonna set this down for a minute and I'll get back to it when I get back to it. Stuff happens. Life gets stressful. Don't be afraid of taking a break, of hitting pause. And anybody who's been watching your stuff that truly cares, they're going to understand that. And sure, maybe you'll fall off of your analytics a little bit, maybe you'll whatever, but who cares? Like, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, does it matter? No. Take it to prayer. Are you doing this for the right reasons? Is there somewhere else that your time needs to be spent? Is this really what the Lord desires of you? I mean, guys, I'll tell you that I've had a handful of times where I'm just like, maybe we're done doing this. Maybe it's been real, it's been fun, I'm getting off the internet and I'm never coming back, right? Like maybe this is it. You have to take that to prayer and you have to say, Lord, convict me. Show me where I'm at. Am I going about this the wrong way? Are my intentions wrong? Is, my husband right? Do I need to be better focused here? Whatever it is, right? Take it to prayer and let the Lord lead that. And sometimes that means that we have to break and be quiet for a minute so we can actually hear, and trust and feel where it is that He's guiding us to. And then after, you've kind of done that, I think a huge part of this, when things aren't going well anytime in our life, whether it's because of YouTube or not, a lot of times it's because we need to realign our priorities. The world demands a lot from us, and we constantly have things vying for our time and attention. And so if we don't ever take that time to pause and go, hold on, are my priorities where they're supposed to be? Because Scripture is really clear on this. Your relationship with the Lord, first and foremost. Is that true in your life? Next, your relationship with your spouse. Is that the most important human relationship you have in this world? It should be. And if it's not, something's wrong. Then your kids. Like I said, sometimes when I'm trying to vlog through all the homeschool, all the things, all the whatever, it starts to feel like we're spending time together just for footage versus we're spending time together because discipling them and training them up is the most important task that I have with them. And so I have to realign that and say, okay, hold on, we're putting the camera away. We're just having a regular school day. Nobody needs to, we do the same thing every day, so it's not very exciting anyways, but I have to remember that sometimes. I go, just put it away. We'll talk about something else this week because we don't need to do this. I've got to realign my priorities and remember that home is my first ministry. I love sharing with you guys. I love putting stuff out. I have so many ideas that I wish I could just get them all out at one time, but I can't because I have to remember my first ministry. This is a ministry and it's important to me, but it doesn't take the place of my first ministry, my home, my husband, my children, my walk with the Lord, right? Our home here and everything that we do. And so that means that sometimes things I really care about and really want to get out, they're going to have to wait a minute because that would be skewing my priorities and I don't want to do that. So I've got to make sure that my expectations, that, my heart, my attitude toward it is aligned properly because once I do that, I see the result. And it's like, oh, Lord, you are so right. Once I get this in order, it means I have to say no to wonderful things. It means certain things don't get done. I mean, it means all of that stuff, which is frustrating. I'll be honest, it is. But I have to remember what my first ministry is. And I have to keep those priorities in their proper alignment if I want the Lord to bless any of this. Because it's really easy to start getting things messed up. And you're going, you're pressing on. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's like every day an uphill battle and things aren't going right. And it's so frustrating. And I'm not seeing the results on YouTube as I thought I was and blah, 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 whatever. And then it's like, okay, hold the phone. Why are we here? What's going on? Why are we here? I need to make some adjustments. Maybe I need to realign myself. And so these would be the things that I do, what I go through when trying to work through all of this and running into those just seasons or those times where I'm like, oh my gosh, YouTube is killing me. Like it's going to be the death of me, or just me and my attitude toward it is going to ruin the whole family. You know, I don't ever want to be in that position. And I've hit this a couple times, but I just want to make sure that my family, I don't ever want my kids to look back and go, oh my gosh, my mom, she went through her YouTube phase, right? Like I think of like how they will think of this. And I don't ever want to have that like, oh my gosh, when we couldn't even have an enjoyable family moment without her pulling out a camera, you know, or whatever. I don't want that to be how they think of this. And so I try to stay aware of that as we go through, and I'm like, okay, are we balanced here? What's going on? What are we doing? You know, I want to make sure I stay on top of that. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully my rambling all my thoughts out at you guys. I wrote it on a really big Post-it card here because I was thinking of all the things, but hopefully that can help you if maybe you're struggling or you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I can't seem to get a rhythm down, or we're just struggling. You know, those are kind of just my steps of how I work through it, and I kind of figure that out and realign and readjust to get things going. So hopefully it can be a blessing to you. I love hearing from you guys, and those of you who have channels or starting channels, I think it's so cool because it's fun to see this type of stuff here in this space. So anyways, I will stop yakking at you all. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow, but I'll leave you with this video right here. If you want to go check that out, it would mean the world to me. Subscribe before you head out. If you want to like, comment, share, all those great things, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all right back here tomorrow. Bye, friends.